In this video, in less than 10 minutes, I want to help you decide what's best for you and your worship team. Should you run tracks in Playback or Ableton Live? And I want to explain how Ableton Live may not be as expensive as you think and why choosing Playback all comes down to one word. Now I want to stress up front, this is not a full shootout of every feature of Ableton Live and Playback. If you're interested in that though, click the link in the description of this video because I did do a full over an hour shootout between Playback and Prime and compared every feature of those apps to Ableton Live. So check that out if that's what you're interested in. But I want to start this video by just giving a couple tips and pointers that hopefully based on your answer to these questions will help you decide immediately which app you should use. So let's first start by talking about devices. If you're wanting to run tracks on a Windows PC, Playback is not available on PC, so you should choose Ableton Live. Now, if you have an iOS device, either an iPad or an iPhone, Ableton Live is not available on those, so you should choose Playback and you should purchase content from multitracks.com. More on that in just a moment. But what about those of you running Androids? I am sad to inform you that neither of these apps are available on Android, at least at the moment. So what I would suggest you do instead is purchase a PC or Mac, or use your PC or Mac you already have to download and purchase Ableton Live and run tracks in Ableton Live. Well, what about Mac? What if you have a Mac? What should you choose? Well, Ableton Live is available, like I mentioned, on PC or Mac, and it's designed especially for desktop support, meaning it's made to be used on a computer. Now, Playback is available on Mac. You can check it out here, but it's worth mentioning in order to use Playback on Mac, you have to have Playback Premium. So you can't use Playback on Mac if you have Playback Pro or Playback Intro. So it is available on Mac, but to me, this is a downside. The fact that it's available on Mac, but I wouldn't necessarily consider it a Mac app. Simply by that, I mean, it just kind of feels like an iPad app that I'm able to use on Mac. It hasn't been created or turned into an app that's created for desktop use, if that makes sense. Now, that very well may not bother you. That may not be an issue for you. So if not, go ahead with Playback, again, purchasing content from multitracks.com. And if it is an issue for you, you want an app custom built, designed to be run on desktop, choose Ableton Live. Okay, enough about that. Let's talk about content. If you are using and purchasing content from multitracks.com, well, good news, you can use Playback or Ableton Live. And in fact, I always suggest if you're going to run tracks in Ableton Live, purchase your content from multitracks.com because it comes pre-done in an Ableton Live set. It makes it easier for you to format your Ableton Live content to then build a set that you can use on stage in a way that's flexible, efficient, and stable. And in order to do that, you're going to need a template to work with. So head to fromstudio2stage.com/template, download my free template. It's available, works on PC or Mac, on Ableton Intro, Standard, or Suite. Download it for free and start formatting your content and get to work immediately. But what if you're purchasing content from Loop Community or content that you're creating on your own? Maybe you've got some multi-tracks, some from Loop Community, some from other people. Ableton Live, I think, is the best choice for you. Here's why I say that. So yes, you could get Playback, you could purchase Playback. There's some great features to this, but if you scroll down this list of Playback, you could see the ability to upload your content is not a feature of Playback. You have to go and purchase a Cloud Pro subscription. And you have to at least have a Cloud Pro basic subscription. So that's an additional cost that you have to add on to your Playback Premium or Pro subscription that you have for Playback. And yes, you can upload your own content to Playback with a Cloud Pro subscription, but I think it just takes too much time. So let's say you're someone that decides to go the Playback route and you want to use Playback on your Mac. This is great. It's on Mac, it's available. Again, I've already shared my opinions about it as a desktop app, but it's there. You can use it. Well, you can't go to the menu bar and do Command N and open a brand new live file. You have to go and upload content from Loop Community or other places to the Multitracks Cloud server, wait for it to process, then you have to add your own tempo, time signature changes to it, markers, names, all that sort of stuff. It's gonna take you way longer to do that in Playback than it ever would to just open Ableton Live and create a live set, again, using that template to format everything and then build a set. So I personally believe, and I've seen this from experience, if you're going to use content from places other than multitracks.com, then do not consider Playback. in that case, use Ableton Live for that. Okay, a couple other things really quickly I want to hit. Let's talk about editing. Now, editing all comes down to how you're wired, what matters to you. If you want simple editing, the ability to remove, add song sections, duplicate song sections, rearrange song structure, change key, change tempo, then I think Playback is for you. It's designed and created to be a simple playback device. The more advanced features that get added to Playback, I believe, dilute the initial and original vision of the app. But if it's just simple editing that you want, that's where you should go and choose Playback. But what if you're one of those people that you're all about the details? You want to be able to create your own remix where you take a chorus from this song, a verse from this song, mash them together. They're at different tempos, different time signature changes, different keys. You make them all the same key, same tempo. That's very easy to do in Ableton Live. What if you want to, for instance, say you have a bunch of guitar parts and you want guitar part 8. Yes, because every song we download from Multitracks now has about 8 guitar parts. You want guitar part 8 to play in the first verse, but not in the second, and then come back in the chorus, but then go out in the second chorus. That's not available in Playback, and I hope they never add that feature because, again, that dilutes the original vision of just simple, easy to use. Ableton Live very simply allows you to make those changes and tweaks. What if you want to create your own song transitions where you can tell exactly when one song ends, another begins, and customize transitions? Ableton Live is for you. What if you want to adjust the tempo of a song that has a lot of tempo changes and you say, I just want to straighten this out. I don't want to play this song at 118, 117, 116, 112. I want to play this song at 118. You can straighten that out and use Ableton Live. So all of that comes down to this. If you want to have advanced editing features, Ableton Live is the way to go because it's a full-fledged DAW. It's made to record, edit audio, record, edit MIDI. Go the Ableton Live route. If you want simplicity, very simple edits, then I would choose Playback. Now, I did mention that choosing Playback all comes down to one word. I'm going to tell you what that word is in a second, but before I do, I want to ask you to consider subscribing to the From Studio to Stage channel. Every single day at 10 a.m. Central, I post a brand new piece of content all about using Ableton Live on stage. Wednesdays are all focused on you as a worship leader, and we'll talk about how to use Ableton Live in a way on stage that's efficient, flexible, gives you freedom, and a lot of simplicity. But in order to see that, do me a favor, hit subscribe, enable the bell icon so you check that out. Now, we'll talk about that keyword in just a moment. I want to really briefly talk about flexibility and freedom. Both of these apps are really great at giving you flexibility and freedom, the ability to loop, to repeat, to jump around. So I think it's a wash when it comes to that. Both of these apps can do the exact same things when it comes to flexibility and freedom. But when it comes to that one word that I think makes you choose Playback over Ableton Live, what's the word? The word is ecosystem. Multitracks.com has built an ecosystem of apps and products and content that no one can recreate. No one will ever be able to touch or come close to because they own the whole widget. And it's a term that Apple created, but just this idea of they created the app and they are releasing the content and they can pair those things together. Ableton Live just is a software company. Now, yes, they also release hardware in the form of push, but they're not releasing content. They're just releasing software. So when it comes to ecosystem, I think Multitracks is the way to go. Playback is the way to go. When we talk about ecosystem, they have Playback, which obviously we're talking about. That's really, really great. They have Chart Builder, and with Chart Builder, you can get a Chart Pro subscription, and you can do a Pro Presenter add-on that gives you access to extra lyrics. You can get those Pro Presenter templates, and then you can also get Rehearsal Mix as well too. And what's great about that is with the ecosystem, you can create a set list, you can create multiple arrangements of songs, and share those across all of those. And so that's a really amazing feature if that's something you're interested in. But let's wrap up this video talking about price. I mentioned by starting saying that Ableton Live may not be as expensive as you think. And the truth is Playback can get way more expensive than Ableton Live if you really lean into that ecosystem. So first, let's look at Playbacks pricing. So we do have Intro, which is completely free. We have Pro, we have Premium, and we can get those for an annual or monthly charge. So Pro adds some extra features that Intro doesn't have. Premium adds some features that Pro doesn't have. So if if I'm talking to you and you say, I want to use Playback, I'm going to tell you to get Playback Premium because it unlocks all those features that's going to make leading worship on stage, doing advanced stuff like sending MIDI, that sort of thing, worth it. So Playback Premium, if I'm purchasing monthly, is $9.99. If I'm purchasing annually, is $99.96. It's a recurring charge. It happens every single year. But let's look at Ableton. So if we go to Ableton's pricing here, 3 versions of Ableton. I should stress there is a free version, Ableton Live Lite, that you could get started with, similar to Playback Intro. But there's 3 versions here: Intro, Standard, and Suite. If you're running tracks, I would suggest you get standard. Here's what's really cool. A lot of worship leaders don't know this, but as a worship leader, someone a part of a house of worship scenario, you qualify for Ableton Live EDU pricing. And here's what's cool, check this out. Ableton Live EDU pricing will get you Ableton Live standard for $269, okay? So for $269, one time, it's not a subscription, it's one time, you get Ableton Live 11 standard, which is everything you need for running tracks. Suite adds some really sweet things to Ableton Live, but standard is all you need to run tracks. So right now we're looking at Ableton Live, $269 one-time purchase. We're looking at Playback Premium, $99.96. Again, recurring annually. So there's a big difference. But I want to stress, we talked about at the beginning, if you're going to use your own content in Playback, content you've purchased from Loop Community, content you've created, then I would highly suggest using Ableton. But you're stubborn, I get it. You go, but Will, you don't understand that Multitracks gives us the ability to upload our own content. Well, it does. Let's see if we can get Playback a little more on par with Ableton's features. Well, in order to do that, we need to upload our own content. It's going to take longer than just doing it in Ableton, but let's upload our own content. And it's really important that we can share our Playback MIDI files across our Playback sets. So yes, Playback Premium, and I believe Playback Pro, let me go back to our chart. Actually, Playback Intro, Pro, and Premium all give us the ability to do this, to send MIDI cues to lyrics, lights, and more. And there's also a note on here that gives us the ability, I think, nope, that's just the note that we have. We can send MIDI cues to lights, lyrics, and more with Playback Intro, Premium, and Pro. But here's the thing, in order to sync those, like add them to your file once and never have to re-add them, to download them, you have to have a Multitracks Cloud Pro subscription. And the Cloud Pro subscription that unlocks the ability to do that is Cloud Pro Intro. So monthly for Cloud Pro Intro, that's gonna be $11.99. And if you pay annually, then that's $119.88. Now pay attention, this is where it gets really interesting. So Playback Premium plus Cloud Pro Intro, those will unlock all the features of Playback that will get it on par, as close to being on par with Ableton Live for running tracks. That gets you to $219.84. But if you remember, what was our price of Ableton Live? $269 EDU for Ableton Live standard, right? So the difference between Playback and Ableton Live is really only a difference of $50, and Ableton Live is a one-time purchase, whereas Playback is a recurring purchase. But one of the reasons maybe you haven't considered Ableton Live is you've heard people say, well, Ableton isn't volunteer friendly, it takes too much time, you don't have the same freedom and flexibility you have with Prime or with Playback. But I mentioned earlier in the video, I know I'm going super quick, but I mentioned earlier in the video that they're on the same kind of equal playing fields when it comes to flexibility and freedom. And when it comes to time, there's a lot of scenarios where I see worship leaders spend way more time in Playback than they do in Ableton Live. Ableton Live, you can build an entire set of your content every single week in less than 5 minutes, no matter how many MIDI cues, no matter how many edits you have, in less than 5 minutes. But the way that you learn how to do that is by following a proven process, using a template that has been proven to work by thousands of people all across the world. And again, to get access to that template, to get access to that process, it's completely free for you. Head to FromStudio2Stage.com/template. You can download that template, available for Live 9, Intro, Standard, and Suite, and higher. And you can use that template to format your songs to build a set, again, in less than 5 minutes, get all the flexibility and freedom that you want. It's going to be stable. And again, price-wise, it's not that far off from Playback Premium with a Cloud Pro Intro subscription, which is great. Now, after you do that, the other thing you got to do to make sure you know how to use it is subscribe to the channel, enable the bell icon. You'll see all the tutorials I post every single day. Again, Wednesdays are dedicated to worship leaders, so make sure you stick around and check that out. But thanks so much for watching this tutorial, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care, everybody. Bye.